Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to announce that we are about to start the webinar on the future of BAT in industrial pollution prevention and control. Before starting the webinar, I'd like to inform you that this webinar is recorded and the replay will be made accessible on the BAT website later. I'm Naoko Moritani from the Environment, Health and Safety Division of the Environment Directorate of the OECD. Thank you very much for participating in the webinars today. This webinar is delivered by the OECD and hosted by the European Commission's Joint Research Center. I'd like to thank the Joint Research Center for being a host of the webinar. This webinar aims to explore the current understanding of the best available techniques, approaches, and their future. We will address key challenges, opportunities for the identification of promising emerging techniques for effective pollution prevention and reduction, and the importance of cross-collaboration between regulatory authorities, industries, research institutes, and technology providers. Now I'd like to introduce the speakers and the moderator according to the sessions. Session 1 will introduce the understanding BAT around the world. It will start with Ms. Eliasser from the OECD, followed by the roundtable discussion with 4 speakers, Dr. Kang from Korea, Ms. Sushko from Ukraine, Dr. Hota from India, and Mr. Masednov from Kazakhstan. In session 2, Mr. Alonso from EU and Mr. Gao from China will speak about the emerging techniques for pollution prevention and control, including current practices. Session 3 will address cross-collaboration. Mr. Aris from European IPPC Bureau will moderate the discussion among 3 speakers. Please note that we will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions or comments, kindly submit them in the chat box of AAA OECD Secretariat at any point during the webinar, and with specification of the intended speaker. Now I would like to move to session 1, understanding best available techniques around the world. I would like to invite Ms. Eliasser for her presentation. Before going to the session 1, I just would like to briefly talk about the meeting rules. For online participation people, please switch off your camera and make sure that your microphone is muted. You can send your questions at any time. This is introduced by myself before. In-person participation, when you don't speak, please make sure your microphone is off. When you wish to intervene, please ask for the floor by pressing the microphone switch. A green light will turn on. Please wait for the chair to give you the floor. When you are given the floor, the light will turn red. After speaking, please switch off your microphone again. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Ms. Eliasser.
Thank you very much. Well, Hello, everyone. My name is Berra Karyasha. I'm the policy analyst who's coordinating the OECD's work on best available techniques. And today at this webinar, I'd like to briefly explain a little bit about the best available techniques, or shortly known as BAT concepts. And I'd like to briefly introduce some of our work done at the OECD. We can define BAT shortly as advanced and proven techniques used to prevent and control industrial emissions, and they are developed at a scale that allows their implementation under most economically and technically viable conditions. There are increasing amount of governments that are adopting a BAT-based approach to tackle industrial pollution. And we know that one of the main advantages of using BAT-based approach is that it allows a multi-stakeholder dialogue and works on evidences of techniques and on the environmental performance of the installations, which allows setting a more realistic emission limit values. A growing amount of number of governments are actually utilizing BAT-based approach to set their BAT-based environmental permits. And BAT-based environmental permits in normal conditions includes technically driven emission limit values, but also provides further information on other subjects that are important for the installations, such as the technical and management requirements, as well as monitoring requirements that could encompass emissions, consumption, and waste generation information for the installations. So what are BAT used for? So we know that best available techniques, or BAT, are state-of-the-art techniques used to prevent and control industrial pollution. But not only that, these BAT are used to actually derive BAT-associated environmental performance levels, or what we can refer as BAT AEPLs. BAT AEPLs consist of two important segments. Firstly are the BAT-associated emission levels, or BAT AELs, and other thing is the other environmental performance levels. So the BAT associated emission levels are technologically driven, which means that they reflect the environmental performance levels that can be achieved by implementing a BAT, or closer. They can be achieved by implementing a BAT or a combination of BAT, rather than being based on a national emission target. The other BAT-associated emission performance levels, aside the emission levels, are the performances that can relate to the material use, water or energy use, and the generation of waste. So as such, the BAT AEPLs are not limited to preventing or controlling emissions of pollutants, but they can also reflect manufacturing efficiency as well as other aspects of sustainable manufacturing practices. But how do we actually present BAT and BAT AEPLs? In many jurisdictions, they have been utilizing what we refer as BAT reference documents, or shortly known as REFs. So these REFs in many countries have been a solution for providing a collective information relating to BAT AEPLs, and emission levels. So BAT AEPLs referred within the BREF documents are used in setting emission limit values as well as other conditions in environmental permits for industrial installations. So we know that based on the experiences of many countries that have been using BAT-based approaches, that BAT provides the best approaches for tackling industrial pollution and have been proven to provide beneficial health for human health and the environment. So we do know that BAT addresses not only the prevention and control of emissions of pollutants, but also the environmental impact of industrial activities more broadly. BAT can reduce the environmental impacts of industrial operations in a cost-effective manner without hampering the actual performances of the installations. So altogether, using a BAT-based approach can enable an upgrade of an industrial operation, making the installations not only greener, but potentially more resource efficient and cost-effective in the long term. And what we do at the OECD regarding best available techniques is that we have a project, And we have two objectives in this project. Firstly, to exchange best practices across countries that already have a BAT-based permitting system. Secondly, to provide guidance to those countries that are seeking to adopt a BAT-based approach for the first time or in the progress of adopting it. How we do this is that we have established an expert group back in 2015, and ever since it has increased in size. Right now, we have approximately 150 members from more than 40 countries and organizations. The expert group consists of experts not only from OECD member countries, but also non-member governments, intergovernmental organizations, environmental NGOs, and industry associations. In normal situation, we do meet face-to-face once a year, and we do have one webinar, which is the online meeting. Overall, the expert group on BAT has proven to be a fruitful platform to exchange best practices, review OECD research, and even share expertise among its members. I'll just briefly explain about what we have done so far at the OECD for BAT project is that we are running in phases. The first phase ran from 2016 to 2018, and in which we delivered 3 reports. Essentially, these reports were looking at what at the global level activities going on related to BAT. And based on the needs of our expert group, we had developed a phase 2, which actually delivered a guidance document on BAT, and later looked at the value chain aspects of determining BAT and did a cross-country comparison of some BREFs on thermal power plants, cement production, and textiles industries. And we are currently in our phase 3, in which we will have 3 other reports. Firstly, we are doing another cross-country comparisons of some BREFs on iron and steel, paper and pulp, and waste incinerations. We are also offering capacity building workshops to countries that are developing their BAT-based approach. And our last report, which we're hoping to support this webinar, is a global study on identifying emerging technologies for potential BAT determination. All of the reports that I have mentioned before are freely available at our website, which I've added the link here. And in addition that we have combined a list of BREF documents available from up to 6 jurisdictions, and you can check out the BREFs available from this website. However, it's under construction, so there will be a new interface available soon. And furthermore, if you would like to have more information on our activities on our future program, please visit our website and please subscribe to our newsletter in case if you would like to hear about further activities. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barak. Now I'd like to ask Barak to proceed the roundtable discussion.
Thank you very much. So our first speaker is going to be Mr. Phil Gu from National Institute of Environmental Research of Korea.
Firstly, it's my best pleasure to introduce our Korea's work in here, Homo, BREF, Seville. And so, but how can I share my presentation? Okay, great. Okay. The title is Understanding BAT in Korea. Next, please. I have 2 chapters. First one is overview, and second one is success and challenges. Next, please. Yeah, this is the interactive environmental permit legal process of Korea. This picture was modified from our MOE presentation file in Korean, and I changed to English, but the term may be not exactly the same, but I'd like to show the legal rough process in Korea. As you can see, on the middle line, you can see yellow box, integrated permit. So before, so the first line is about before the integrated permit, and second line is integrated permit, and after the integrated permit, after. So main part of the after integrated permit is the large box, 5-year post-management, environmental management, and level assessment. That is the business should submit their integrated permit plan every 5 years. But in our law, we can enlarge it to 8 years. Some like examination. There is on the lower different law system. So it is just rough explanation of our legal process. Next, please. And I drew this picture for this presentation. I'd like to say this one is sustainable permit circle regarding BREF and IEP. So you can see I need to see my presentation. Yeah, okay. You can see number 1, publication of KBREF first, that is first version of KBREF. And you can see number 3, publication of KBREF version 2. Legally, we review our BREF every 5 years, 5 to 7 years. And so after publication of KBREF first version, you can see another number 1, BAT-AEL first, focus on high volume discharge emission, TSP, SOx, NOx. Our first BREF, AEL, is focused on large volume emission, TSP, SOx, NOx. And the second version, we focused on number 3, BAT-AEL second version. We focused on health affected substance like organic chemical or heavy metal. And then the BAT-AEL version 3, third version, we again focused on high volume emission. So because our BAT should be welcomed by business, right? And so this is our plan. So and you can see number 2, maximum discharge standard under our law. KBREF has AEL. We suggested to MOE as a low level to MOE. So literally we are BREF, but we have characteristic of BATC because our upper value of AEL is directly go to the maximum discharge standard. Okay, yeah. And so currently we have revision process of KBREF second version, and so I'd like to say this is the cycle. Sustainable KBREF revision of maximum discharge standard again. Okay. So please next, please. This is our KBREF roadmap. I presented many times in OECD, but there little change of this roadmap. That is, next year we will have a new roadmap to future plan of KBREF. I'd like to focus on common BREF, such as EMS, environmental management system, or energy management system, and also media BREF, general BREF of air and water. We have 25 BREFs in Korea, but all BREF have all general BREF, such as general BAT, such as SCR for NOx reduction, SNCR for NOx reduction in all sectors. So we would like to combine that, but I'd like to decide this process. We will have a project to build our next roadmap. So next year, maybe if possible, I'd like to show our new plan. Okay, that is just the rough showing our plan. Oh, and also we finished first cement draft last March. Yeah. So, yeah. Next, please. Chapter 2, Success and Challenges. Next, please. As you know, our current permission is still going on. Existing plant permission will be done next year with all sectors. So, but I separated two parts, quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative aspect, actually we need more time to calculate the before permit, after permit, discharge of TSP or NOx and SOx, because our first version AI focused on TSP, SOx, and NOx. So, but roughly we can see the decrease of TSP, SOx, and NOx in power plant and waste incineration. But we need to see more. We need more time, and also, you know, we have also other sectors finished the permission, but most important thing is to calculate our discharge. We have to join other air pollution data such as TMS, telemonitoring system, and manual data. That's combining the systematically is very difficult. Okay. And qualitative aspect, I think this is very important because our industry part, they have more interest of BAT because they're both in the business part. Before BAT, they have very little interest on permission, environmental permission, but now their interest is going on. There is very important things. And also the investment is increasing along with our BAT permission. Challenges, this is very important because infrastructure on post management and countermeasure still lacked limited money and manpower, and also collaboration with advanced countries and developing countries such as Vietnam also. So I think collaboration is very good key, as you know. And for the reflection of greenhouse gas and natural policy should be added our paragraph, but our law has no right to add greenhouse gas and natural policy. And so I'm very look forward to see IED revision next session or tomorrow meeting. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. This is a very young field. Now, I'm not young. Anyway. Thanks so much. That's all.
Thank you very much, Fulgu. Our next speaker is going to be Ms. Svetlana Shushko from Ministry of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone here, and good morning and good evening for everyone who is online today with us. We don't have in Ukraine much innovation with the BAT approach, as we heard now from South Korea. We are trying to let's say, implement in the best way what is already exist in European Union countries. We try to collect all successful experience, and we are trying to teach people on the place, means in the ministry, the inspection, the installation operators, how to use it and what will be the best way to for them to implement BAT approach. So I would like to give today a little update how it goes in Ukraine now with our reform, and I will start from first slide. Thanks. So the current environmental regulation for the industrial emission in Ukraine consists of 5 different documents, and that's one of the reason and arguments which we have in the reform that the BAT approach, which leads to one integrated permit, will reduce this amount of documents, which means that instead of separately regulation of air emission and water and waste management, we will have one integrated approach which will find the best way for the environment as it's written in IAD in the directive. So instead of 5 documents, we will have...
Okay, Sophie?
We will have one. Next slide, please. The background of implementation of IAD in Ukraine is the signing of the association agreement in 2014, and before even we start to work with this directive through the energy community, because as we know, the energy installations is the big part of the IAD, and also in 22, Ukraine was granted the status of a candidate, which put on Ukraine additional, let's say, obligation to make this reform faster and more efficient. Next, please. So here we see the roadmap, how it goes, looking in the retrospective. In 2019, the concept or the roadmap for the reform has been adopted by Ukrainian government. It was calculated for 10 years, and the responsibility of each institution with strict deadlines were fixed in the action plan to this road on which government agreed and adopted. Also in 2019, the first draft law to implement IAD and introduce BAT approach was developed. And basically from 2019 till now, we have different stages of the dialogue on BAT approach in the discussion. During this time, we developed already, I'm afraid to be mistaken, more than 20 versions of draft law, but I must admit that with every version, the parliament members, the government, and the public, and also the business is going much more in the details, deeper in the topic, and now we have much more practical discussion, let's say, than we had it in 2019, when everyone understood it more as let's say, not applicable on practice. So we are expecting because the draft law this year passed first reading, we are expected that the BAT approach will be introduced till the end of this year, as we are expecting the second reading in the parliament. Also, the system which is developed now to make this process of integrated permit issues and all the information about BAT is also developed, but because of the changes in the draft law, the developer have to change a little bit all the time. So I can't say that it's fully developed now, but we expect it once the draft law is adopted, the system will be in work. And in 1 year, once all the additional bylaws will be already adopted, because most of them are developed already, more than on 60%, we expected to start the issue first integrated permit. So on this topic also a lot of discussions are going now in Ukraine with operators of installations. Next, please. So the main elements are reflected of the draft law in Ukraine are reflected to the IAD directive. It integrated environmental permit with the fully approach to protect environment. It's reporting and monitoring, which should ensure the proper control and the efficiency of this system. It's BAT and BREF approach introduction, and the electronic system, which will make it easy, comfortable for the control authority, as for the permit authority, permit issuing authority, and the same for the operator of installation. Please. Here I will not read all the text. You can check it on the website also in more details, but according to 2019 version of the draft law, I must say that more benefits have been added to the draft law, as for example, automatization of this process. So we developed already currently forms which operator of installation will fill, and all this information will be collected in one register. And also the forms are developed for the changes in permit, for the control authority, etc. So it's all automatized. Then we expect also to introduce digitalization here, as the changes are in the, let's say, in the approach to public, to make it much more easy when the public can also give their comments online or suggestions, and also the participation and making sure that their voice is heard. And this functionality was added to the draft law. We also added the dialogue with business, because now in all the procedures there is no separate, let's say, stage where business can consult with permit authority, not on water, not on air permits, how to make the application more efficient, more clear. So that's have been added. We also add the transition period for installation who are working now in Ukraine and have already quite old equipment and are not planning to implement BAT, because for them will be much more easy to, let's say, build a new installation. And also the issue in Ukraine that because many reforms and processes in different areas, not only environmental, are going very dynamically. We have to all the time check our legislation on industrial emission with the current reforms and changes. And next slide, please. Here I just showed a little bit of the stakeholders map, how it goes in the draft law for now, how we see that, where all the rights of all the stakeholders should be taken into account, and where for public is the voice of public is ensured through access to environmental data, access to documents, all the documents which will be in register concerning installation, to make the, first of all, the history of this installation, and second, to make it possible for the public to refer to this information. Then the participation in the procedure of the issue of integrated permit is ensured according to IAD Annex 4, and is ensured the consideration of their comments and other parts of their participation. Next slide, please. As I said, for now, the draft law is waiting the parliament voting. and active discussion going on still during already half a year with different parliament members. There is more than 60% of draft laws to make work. The whole system of integrated approach is developed. The translation of drafts have been done, 13 of them have been done, and already also actively discussion in Ukraine society. The development of the electronic system, which should work when the draft law pass the parliament, and also comparing to 2019, we already have a full department in the Ministry of Environment who is responsible for the reform, which is big victory. And this department works already 1.5 years very successfully, and we even went a little bit more and have two divisions, one of them responsible for BAT, which is dealing with working groups and translation, etc., and one division for the formulation of the policy and work with legislation. Next, please. So here is a short information about the BREF and BAT updates from the June 2023, when Ukrainian delegation was here and got the status of observer according to Article 13 IAD. The processes started to go quite faster, and we had several meetings for all stakeholders, where was presented business, the installations, and public and scientists to discuss 10 translated BREFs, translated into Ukrainian BREFs. We also started working groups. 5 working groups were created, and 10 meetings already passed on sectoral BREFs to discuss the possibilities for Ukrainian installation, to try to collect the information and discuss on the engineer and scientific level how Ukraine will go in this process. And also in these meetings, which is for now, I think, a big success, more and more international respective speakers started to share their experience. So stakeholders now have this access to ask their questions just directly. Next. And just to finish the updates, I want to remind that because of the war, which lasts more than 600 days already, more than 200 big installations, which we suppose to be in our register, and which were going to the Annex 1 of the IAD, and for now are damaged or fully destroyed. There are some estimated costs provided here on the screen, and the government clearly understands that faster implementation of IAD in the way as it have been done in European Union will be the very crucial base for the green recovery of Ukraine. So now this reform is connected as one of the priority reforms and one of the base for the new installation and existing installations which were damaged to be reconstructed already with a green, more efficient way based on BAT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to pass the floor to Dr. Manoranjan Hota, who is a former staff of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India.
Thank you, Barak. I'll just give you welcome. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening to all of who are present from different parts of the globe. I will just give you a brief how the BAT has been developed since early 1980s. We have been progressively doing our bit to develop the best available technology. As for the Water Pollution Control Act and Air Act, and also the Environment Protection Act, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change formulates, notifies the standards for various industries and activities. For example, air pollutants, water pollutants, noise limits from industries, operations, and the processes. The standards which are framed are...
Manoranjan, can you please get closer? Yes. Can pull it closer.
So the standards which are framed are with a great consultation with the concerned stakeholders, and these are all depends on the processes of the best practices, both technology, economic activities. And then we notify those standards, which involves formulation of load-based standards, the concentration-based standards, and then encourage the resource utilization efficiency and conservation aspects. So all those aspects goes into the thought process of developing the standards. Next, please. In the process, what we do initially is to do the comprehensive industrial development strategy, for example. And here we develop the entire right from the scratch of the industrial operations, from the cradle to grave approach. So we have details of the industries. And then we develop the minimal national standards, which we call MINAS, from the COINS document. And then these minimal national standards are now will be given to the legal status. So again, in order to make that legal status, next please. The procedure is to determine. Yeah, the procedure is to determine the standards which concern all the emissions which from the COINS, they need to MINAS. Then it goes to a kind of a technical committee which takes into consideration the technology, the cost, the social aspect, all those benefits together, and then decides a standard, which again, as a draft standard, goes into the public consultation for 60 days. And then public consultation means the public in general, but the industries and all stakeholders together. And then final takes on that how a standard is notified. And these standards are always a very dynamic system based on whatever the inputs on the technology development, the economics, the social issues, the standards are revised at a proper interval as and when is required. Next, please. As I mentioned, the pollution barrier is a dynamic system, as a matter of fact, both on the technology and economics. So it includes the modification, the process, the plant practices, in-plant control measures, and end-to-end system to remove pollutants, including the recovery and reuse. Of late now, we have been more focusing on how to recover the resources from the pollution. So we are trying to look forward towards a more circular economy, to a more closed loop. Next, please. So this is how a glance of the development process. We have COINS, the MINAS, and then there are two approaches we follow normally. One is voluntary approach. So we request the industries, the polluting industries, the sector of industries, to develop, to bring in the standards and implementation on ground, maybe as stringent as they can do, but not less than the prescribed standards. A great example for this is we phased out mercury from all our chloralkali industries, from the mercury based process. Now we are moved to the membrane-based process. Then another approach which we have is corporate responsibility for environmental protection. So this is, we bring in, to start with, we are focused on 17 categories of heavily polluting industries. We bring them on table and then decide that this is how the standard government of India thinks of, and now what we can expect more from you. So those industries comments, remarks which are given. So this is again a kind of a volunteer approach, but we have been getting a good response from the industries, particularly the 17 categories of industries for which this the policy has been taken. Next, please. This is a broad framework how our standards are being developed. It is large at the same what we do here in the OECD BAT consultation. We take ecological criteria, health criteria, geological criteria, time and exposure. Then, of course, we see the process, the engineering, technology, and of course the economical capability. So it is almost at par what OECD we are doing here in the BAT process. Next, please. Again, when we say the standards, we have one for the federal system, but there are certain areas where location-specific standards are required because of large public complaint or the heavily polluting industries. So the Central Pollution Control Board, the industry-specific standards they prescribed, whereas the State Pollution Control Board, the SPCB, can make more stringent standards for the particular location when the pollution control is concerned. Next, please. The challenges which, in my opinion, from my experience, we see there are technological challenges because the sustainable ambient air purification process is a challenge. We in our country, we see that how it comes in the typical weather or season, we have a different kind of pollution, both also in the geoclimatic situation there. We have operational models, cradle to grave approach. These need to be seen much more micro level, but we have been doing at a macro level, but then we are now moving towards how to do more micro based approach to improve our implementation of standards. Is first of all, we make standards, but the implementation is the key. Therefore, we have been doing the capacity building, both sectoral and cross-sectoral training. But of late, Government of India has started actually the skill development program on the job and off the job. Because the training and technology are being given to the senior management or the engineers who are already trained. But the key is the operators or the fitters, you know, those bracket personnel who really drives the industry. We are now started doing from the Skill Council for Green Jobs. That helps them not only for training, but that gives them an ability to have a skill development certificate from the government, so they improve upon there. So probably we can think in a similar direction from this group. Next, please. This is just an example. We don't have to go through how we initially decided a particular standard, say, for example, thermal power plants way back in 1986. But gradually, with the experience, with the technology development, with the social concept, if we can go to next 2 slides, please. So that will give, this gives a complete evolution how our thermopole standards right from 1986 to 2015, because our standards are getting more stringent. We are also phasing out the vintage the power plants, but we have a time scale for that. And because that time scale depends upon the economy of their particular thermal power plants and how we can absorb that energy generation from other sources. Next, please. Next, please. The advantage which we have from this entire process, the technology employed for the control and proposed limit of sulfur dioxide and NOx is same with the related to thermal power. I made a mention that. New standards which have been made more stringent with regard to the PM10, sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen. This in turn will bring down improvement of the ambient air quality in and around thermal power plant. Then, of course, over the years, we are limiting the use of water in thermal power plants. So that will reduce the energy requirement for the entire process. Next, please. The successful takeaways from the entire exercise of our best available technology being implemented is, one is voluntary approach, and then the second one is the corporate responsibility for environmental protection. Because we have understood from our experience that unless you take the industries into your consideration, you cannot implement that. So therefore, it is more important that we take them into confidence to implement this entire BAT program. Next, please. I have already made a mention that what this CREP is required, corporate responsibility to environment protection. So this has a different charter. For example, the conservation of water, energy, recovery, reduction in pollution, elimination of toxic pollutants. So the entire things are put together into a document which we have been doing in the BAT. Next, please. There are other initiatives based on the technology which have experienced in that, use of CNG for as an alternate fuel and all online monitoring system for that. Next, please. What I would suggest to this August gathering is, as a group, we can talk of how can we integrate the technologies, how can practical application of the functional materials and chemicals can be factored into this, and more importantly, what we have been doing and probably we are doing in a manner to do a circular economy, waste from one is a resource for others. I think that we need to probably has to build into the BAT system. And of course, the skill development on job and off job. So these are some issues which probably I just put it for consideration for the group for next 2 days deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I would like to invite our last speaker of the session, Mr. Kairat Maseno from International Green Technologies and Investment Project Centers, BAT Bureau of Kazakhstan.
Birak, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear participants of the webinar, I am honored to be with you today. On behalf of the International Center for Green Technology and Investment Projects and myself, let me welcome you to the webinar New Methods of Industrial Pollution Prevention and Control. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers and the participants of this webinar and to note the importance and the relevance of the topic of implementation of best available techniques in industry. So the topic of my presentation, first presentation today, is transition to the best available techniques in the Pulse of Kazakhstan. I will briefly tell you about the stages of transition to the principles of BAT in the Pulse of Kazakhstan, about the reference books on the best available techniques and the projected effect of the introduction of BAT by industry. So, dear participants, in the 70s, as you know, of the last century, Sweden introduced a comprehensive system of pollution prevention and control. The core of this system is the best available techniques, which are now being implemented in all countries of the world, including our country. The best available techniques are a means of modernizing the economy on the environmental, technological, and the technical side. In the Pulse of Kazakhstan from 1st of January 2025, for the operators of facility included in the top 50 enterprises of the first category, there is a transition to an integrated environmental permit related to the application of BAT. The major sectors of Kazakhstan's economy include oil and gas, mining and metallurgy, also heat and power transition. To date, Kazakhstan has already created favorable legal conditions for the active transition of industry to best available technique principles. Now, let me brief report on what we have done over the years in best available technique implementation. So, stages of transition to BAT principles in Kazakhstan. The current reality of the environmental legislation of the Republic of Kazakhstan includes a 16 years path of reforms that is from 2007 to 2023. So the first mentioning of the concept of BAT in the Environmental Code of 2007, as well as the list of the best available technologies for individual processes and industries on technical specific emission standards based on the implementation of BAT. In 2010, the Astana Green Bridge Partnership Program was introduced, supported by the decision of Ministerial Conference on Environment and Development in the Asia-Pacific region. At the United Nations World Summit on Sustainable Development in Brazil in 2012, the Green Bridge Partnership Program was endorsed as a cross-regional voluntary mechanism to transition to a green economy. In 2013, the decree of the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan on the concept of the transition of the Republic of Kazakhstan to a green economy was issued. In 2015, at the United Nations General Assembly's 70th session, the initiative for the establishment of the International Center for Green Technology was announced. In 2018, as a legacy of the Expo, the International Center for Green Technology and Investment Products was presented, based on which the Bureau of Best Available Techniques was established, the main objectives of which are to conduct a comprehensive technological audit of industrial enterprises of the Republic of Kazakhstan and to develop reference books on best available techniques. So, 2021 marked by the following two events. First, introduction of the fundamentally new Environmental Code of the Republic of Kazakhstan from the 2nd of January 2021. Second, approval by decree of the Government of the Republic of Kazakhstan dated October 28, 2021, rules for the development, application, monitoring, and the revision of reference books on the best available techniques, and in fact, the development of BAT reference books itself. Second slide, please. Now, I will tell you specifically about the reference books, how many reference books have been developed, and how many we plan to develop in the coming years. To date, the Best Available Techniques Office has already developed 16 draft BAT reference books. Of these, 5 BAT reference books such as production of inorganic chemicals, production of cement and lime, production of zinc and cadmium, lead production, and the production of copper and the precious metal gold were approved by the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. 11 draft BAT reference books have passed the stage of approval by the BAT committee and at the various stages of approval by the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. In general, to date, the development of draft reference books on BAT for the top 50 operators of first category facilities has already been carried out. Next slide, please. In the period from 2024 to 2027, it's planned to develop 15 more draft BAT reference books for other types of economy activities, the names of which you can see on the slide. The result of the development of implementation of the best available techniques will be a drastic reduction of the environmental impact on this indicator. Forecast effect from the introduction of BAT by industry sector. Next, please. The forecast effect on the industries belonging to the top 50 polluters after the implementation of BET will reduce emission into the environment from 13 to 80%. With this indicated the percentage of total reduction of emission into the atmosphere will be about 60% for the industry considered. So to summarize, best available techniques. Next slide, please. Best available techniques is primarily about the manufacturability of production process, and the environmental aspects are conceptual. On a narrow view, best available technique is assessed as tightening the rationing of emission to the environment. But from the broad perspective, best available techniques covers the modernization of existing production facilities, which in turn leads to new high productivity jobs, the creation of modern domestic equipment, and the improved industrial competitiveness. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the informative presentations. Now, I'd like to move to session 2, Emerging Techniques for Pollution Prevention and Control. I'd like to invite Mr. Simon Gutierrez Alonso for his presentation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. Yes? Okay. Good. So while I wait for the presentation to be shown in the screen, I would like to thank the OECD Secretariat for organizing this very interesting session, and also to invite us to give this talk today, and also to my colleagues to help me preparing this set of slides. So I will be presenting the Innovation Center for Industrial Transformation and Emissions, and my name is Simon Gutierrez Alonso. I work in the Joint Research Center in the European IPPC Bureau. So next slide, please. So within the presentation, I will give you a little bit of a reasoning why InSight, and that comes from the legislative framework and the revision of the European Industrial Emission Directive. Then I will dive directly into the role of InSight, what we're doing with regards to the center. And I will touch a bit on the future collaboration between industries and the rest of the stakeholders, and perhaps pose a few questions for the audience and the participants today. So next slide, please. So the Industrial Emissions Directive in Europe, and you have probably seen this slide before, covers and regulates over 30,000 large industrial installations, and includes also more than 20,000 farms. And you can see in the pie chart a bit how these industries are distributed. Now, it's been heavily proven that this piece of regulation has supported or has helped bringing the levels of certain contaminants and in overall the environmental health and the human health to a better conditions since its application. Now, it was also analyzed a couple of years ago. What was, let's say, some of the elements that could be improved in this piece of legislation in order to achieve better or more ambitious goals. So if you move to the next slide, there has been many changes in this piece of regulation, which can be grouped in 5 different areas. And of course, it's not the purpose of the talk today to cover all the areas, but perhaps it gives you a little bit of an insight of what's going to be changing in this piece of regulation. It's important to understand that this is under trilogue at the moment. So it's about to be finalized soon, but there's still things that can be changed. So in essence, we're talking about a more effective regulation, and here is a few, let's say, actions or a few elements that will make this legislation more effective in terms of perhaps, for example, decreasing flexibilities and things like that. There is also an increased contribution to decarbonization. As you know, that's one of the key environmental goals in Europe and also across the globe. There's also a sectorial scope extension. more industries to be covered by this directive, and more industries to fall under the environmental regulation that comes with this legislation. An increased focus on resource efficiency and circular economy, and again, that's one of the goals of the European Green Deal. And then the last package is related to better promotion of green innovation, and this comes from the fact that during the impact analysis, it was seen that the legislation was not being very effective in bringing new techniques and new technologies to the different industrial sectors. And of course, InSight falls more into this green innovation, but it also touches upon decarbonization, circular economy, and depollution. So next slide, please. So what it is at the moment in the legal text, and this sets out a bit what the different roles will be. So InSight aims at collecting and analyzing information on innovative techniques, then characterize the level of development and environmental performance, and make all this information publicly available and feed in the different parts of or sections of the regulation. That comes into the Sevilla process, and how that will be affected by InSight. So the input from InSight will inform the work program. According to the information that we gather, we will be able to prioritize the different industrial sectors depending on the level of innovation that these industry sectors will have, and depending on what impact towards the European Green Deal goals this innovation can bring, and that could help facilitate let's say the decision on the work program. The information that will be gathered in InSight will feed and will be incorporated into the BREF review, and that means we front load the technical working group of an individual sector with all this information, with the aim of hopefully that technical working group be able to define the performance levels of these emerging techniques, what we would call as emerging technique AELs in the BAT conclusions. And that those two things working together will be supported by some flexibilities, and that in essence will be to provide temporary derogation of up to 2 years for testing emerging techniques, and then allowing 6 years instead of 4 for ETALs to be implemented at plant level. So next slide, please. So InSight, and diving a little bit more on the center, many of these I've said before, but again to flag that this comes from the EU Green Deal ambition, and will tackle, let's say, the different strategies such as the zero pollution strategy, decarbonization, and resource efficiency and circularity. The initial focus of the center will be energy-intensive industries, and that means within the next 4 to 6 years, we will be focusing on this type of industries. But of course, we will tend to cover other industrial sectors at the same time. This center will be operated and set up by us, by the GRC Unit B5 in Seville, and will be working in very close collaboration with the European IPPC Bureau. And in that sense, we will benefit from the know-how and the expertise of the Bureau, and try to combine the efforts to bring the center up to speed and make sure it has the best knowledge and the best connection with the BREF developments. In relation to the legal status, and that's probably something that sounds a little bit far away for many of you, but it will be a Commission implementing decision, so a legal text that will define the functioning, the task, the responsibilities, and the different actors of the center. Next slide, please. So as a main activities, we will be in charge of information collection and sharing, and for that we will be putting in place a dedicated online platform and database that will facilitate the information collection, but also the publication of certain information. Okay. We will in the center ensure data quality, so we will have measures in place to ensure that the data that comes into the platform is of sufficient quality. We will characterize and assess the information in order to come up with a level of development and environmental performance, and feed in the BREF process only with those techniques which meets the level of ambition and the level of development required to become a BAT. And also at the same time, the center will assess the advancement in sectors of the sectors towards the European Green Deal objectives. So we will try to, let's say, to provide sectorial scoreboards and sectorial fact sheets in order to show or to reflect on how the technology or the new innovative techniques are contributing to the overall objectives. Important to say here that with Insight we target not only a European scale, so we don't only target innovation happening in Europe, but we also target innovation happening in the whole world. So that means a new set of actors, a new set of organizations that we will need to deal with. Next slide, please. So online platform and database, I won't spend too much time on this, but just to show that our main idea is to create a very user-friendly platform on which industry can submit their technologies and their techniques. And that will be happening through a very friendly set of templates or questionnaires that they will feed in with their own data and attachments. This information will become a part of the database, and then through the platform and the database, we will generate again a user-friendly web portal that will enable different stakeholders to access different level of information and generate reports and generate analytics on the data that's behind the portal. Next slide, please. So stakeholders, and this is what I've mentioned before, we deal with Insight with a new set of stakeholders, which are not necessarily the same players that we deal with when developing BREFs. And that means who are these players? We're talking about industry associations, technology developers, research community, that can be from academic to research center and technology platforms. We're talking about innovation communities, innovation funding programs, or public and private partnerships. So a new set that we need to map and we need to engage throughout the development of the center. And facilitating the role as mainly data submitters, but also as part, we want to engage them as part of our community in a way to support Insight in identifying emerging trends, or create the networks, or respond even to questions from the Insight team regarding specific technologies. And for sure, they will be the target of our, let's say, dedicated workshop, webinars, all type of activities in order to engage them into this center. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits or the added value for the different actors? When we talk about government and general public, we raise awareness. We will, in a transparent and consistent way, try to publish and try to make the information available. So the general public and also governmental authorities can track the progress, and hopefully also can facilitate the permitting, especially for the governmental authorities, for the local authorities. For industry, as we said before, the new legislation, the new directive brings some flexibility for industrial installations for testing emerging techniques. And also when these techniques are implemented as ETAL, will give an extension of the permitting. We want to promote, or we hope this center will promote innovative techniques and projects. we hope, and I think that's the spirit of the legal text, to provide somehow a commercial advantage for those front runners and for those engaging and participating with us. And we're also looking at mechanisms to facilitate access to funding. And I think there is quite obvious that those projects that we list as being of good quality and at good level of development will already have a plus when asking for funding, but we're also exploring the different mechanisms to connect to other funding activities within the EU. As for the other directors in the Commission, I think this is quite obvious that it all comes together. It all brings down different strategies, and with that, we hope we can generate the platform that can help support the information sharing, the identification of funding priorities, and overall following innovation across EU and the globe. For the funding bodies, again, we're exploring the different possibilities, but direct funding towards the most promising techniques will be facilitated by providing a list of technologies. We hopefully can define sound criteria for access to funding, and also having this list of technologies will increase the certainty on certain technologies when accessing to funding. Next slide, please. So where we are here, I will explain very briefly on different sides of where we're working. So this Commission implementing decision, as I said before, the functioning, the main rules of InSight, how it will work and what will be the input and output. That's where we're putting a lot of effort at the moment. This Commission implementing decision cannot be endorsed before the legal text, the new IED, becomes approved or endorsed. So therefore, we still need to hold that. We're also working on a launch event, and that's foreseen to be happening in Q2 of next year. And that will come together with the launching of the platform and database that I was explaining before. And then, of course, in terms of timeline, our priority will be to work on the energy intensive sectors at the beginning of InSight. So that will mean, that the first 4 to 6 years will be dedicated to iron, steel, to cement, perhaps some chemistry sectors as well. So next slide, and I'll just give a few questions, perhaps nothing to say on that, but a few questions for the next part of the session, where we can explore a bit together how we can benefit each other from the work that we're putting in InSight and perhaps other initiatives in other member states. And how we will be happy to hear from what you've heard today and from discussions that you will have with my colleagues across the next 2 days. How would you see InSight benefiting your own frameworks, and how can we support you in that? So with that, I close my presentation. Thank you very much again, and happy to take some questions if needed.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, if you have any answer or comments, please use the chat box of the AAA OECD Secretariat, and we will discuss it later. So thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Now I would like to invite Mr. Shuwei Gao for his presentation.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Gao Shui from the Sino-Japan. I'm Gao Shui from the Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection. My topic today is building science and technology science platforms and promoting advanced and applicable technologies. Next, please. My presentation is divided into 3 parts. And first, next, please. And first, allow me to introduce the Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection. Next. Next slide. Thank you. Okay. The Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection is an institution of profound importance in the field of environmental science. This center operates directly under the Ministry of Ecology and Environmental of the People's Republic of China and stands as a comprehensive scientific research organization. Next, please. One of the center's remarkable phase is dedication to creating science and technology platform that contribute significantly to the advancement of environmental protection. These platforms include training-based 2K laboratories of Ministry of Ecology and Environmental of the People's Republic of China, 3 national technical service cooperation platforms, 3 professional commits, a high quality science and technology journals specializing in environmental science. These platforms serve as the foundation upon which groundbreaking environmental work is conducted. Now let's move on to the exploring how these platforms have enabled the transformation of eco-environmental science and technology achievements. Next, please. The part 2, practice of transforming eco-environmental science and technology achievements. Next, please. In July 2019, the China Ecology and Environmental Technology Transform platform was officially launched, an initiative pioneered by the Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection. This platform plays a pivotal role in collecting, curating, and disseminating advanced and applicable technologies related to ecology and environmental issues. Next, please. The platform continues to collect advanced and applicable technologies in the field of ecology and environment, including over 5,000 eco-environmental management and pollution control technologies covering more than a dozen fields such as air, water, soil, solid waste, and low carbon. Next, please. Focusing on the work of in-depth pollution prevention and control, the platform has successfully developed and constructed more than 10 technical clubs such as eco-environmental science and technology assistance, zero waste city, technology for address climate change and VOC pollution prevention and control, and published the national environmental protection policies, advanced technologies for pollution control and environmental management, and critical cases according to some areas. Next, please. Next one. Moreover, the platform collaborates with Japan, launching the Sino-Japan Technological Cooperation Zone to foster technology exchange, transformation, and application, particularly in areas like low carbon, solid waste reuse, control of the new chemical and climate change. Next. Focusing on the key difficult and hot issues of pollution prevention and control, the platform has hold more than 14 science and technology trains, which special topics including VOC pollution control, coordinated prevention and control of fine particulate matter and ozone pollution, protection of Yangtze River, and national carbon market power generation industry carbon emission data quality management training. Next, please. Based on the actual pollution control needs of local management departments and enterprises, the platforms selected pollution control technology achievements in such areas as industry sectors, agricultural no-pot sources, and black and outdoors water treatment. Organizes technical exchanges and docking careers out face-to-face, sales and technology assistance, and holds and helps looking overall planning and systematic implementation. Next, please. The next one. In 3 years since its inception, the platform has provided over 300 sales and technology consulting service and service as nexus for over 12,000 outstanding sales and technology achievements. These accomplishments are testament to the transformative power of science and technology in the environmental sector. Next, please. China, Japan, Korea Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Technology Cooperation Network. Next. Turning our attention to international cooperation, the China, Japan, Korea Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Technology Cooperation Network represents a remarkable endeavor. This initiative stems from the 18th China, Japan, Korea Environmental Ministers meeting, where as a memorandum of understanding for the tripartite cooperation network for environmental pollution prevention and control technologies was signed in 2016, holding the launch of a trilateral project. Next, please. This network operated through an information platform designed by the Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection, the Japan Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center, and the Korea Environmental Protection Industry Association. The aim is to foster the exchange of pollution prevention and control technology information. In his collaboration among China, Japan, and Korea in environmental protection and promote the environmental technology industry. Next, please. The platform features for critical databases, technology supplies, technology demands, project information, and company information. It empowers enterprises from all three countries to instantly access, publish, and communicated information relevant to their interests. Next. The next one. Oh, go on next. Next, please. Furthermore, the network encourages offline technology promotion activities from 2017 to 2019. The China, Japan, Korea environmental industry and technology joint extension and cooperation for cover the bringing together at places from these nations to discuss and exchange knowledge. These activities have effectively facilitated the exchange of information on pollution prevention and country technologies. The next. In conclusion, the Sino-Japan Friendship Center for Environmental Protection with its science and technology platforms and the China-Japan-Korea Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Technology Cooperation Network present the epitome of collaboration and technology progress in the realm of environmental protection. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gao, for introducing the information platform on environmental technologies among 3 countries. Now, I would like to move to session 3. I would like to welcome Mr. Aris as a moderator and welcome Mr. Alonso, Dr. Kang, and Mr. Masunov as speakers again. Now I would like to invite Mr. Arias to moderate the discussion in terms of cross-collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm very happy to be here today and moderate this session. First of all, let me introduce myself because it's the first time, in fact, that I'm actually participating to an OECD meeting. So my name is Eric Aris. I work in the bureau, European IPPC Bureau, since 2018, about 5 years. I've been mostly working on the metal breath, actually. And I used to work in industry, in the steel industry, actually in the UK, for about 15 years. And a large steel maker with also operation in India and in the Netherlands. Okay. So what is the objective of the session today? The objective of the session is really to try to explore how to best identify and evaluate the emerging techniques which are going to be implemented during the industrial transition, how to try to foster cross-collaboration maybe between the stakeholders, between countries, and maybe look at concretely what maybe the OECD could help to, how the OECD could help to facilitate a bit cross-collaboration in this area, which is going to get more and more important. What do we want to do during this industrial transition? We want to really capture innovation, emerging techniques in, I think, 4 areas. So, for example, depollution, reduction of emissions to water and air, resource efficiency, reduction of energy consumption, water consumption. That's very important in some countries with water scarcity, for example. Circular economy, reduction of waste, recycling or reuse of residues, industrial symbiosis, decarbonization, electrification, use of hydrogen, carbon capture, etc. So this is mostly relevant maybe to, at the start, maybe to energy-intensive industry sectors, iron and steel, cement, chemical production, pulp and paper, non-ferrous metal industry. So helped by my 4 panelists, we have 4 panelists who will participate to this session. I would like to give them the floor successively. We have approximately 50 minutes, so 2-3 minutes each. And I will ask 2 questions if you would like to try to make an answer. First of all, would be to how can we ensure and foster cross-collaborations among the stakeholders for identification and evaluation of the emerging techniques that will support the industrial transition. And in your view, what could be the role of the OECD to try, OECD member or partner countries, to try to support this work, which is becoming, will be really essential during the years to come. Okay? So that's the 2 questions, 2-3 minutes each. And I would like to start by giving the floor maybe to my colleague Simon first, who is normally online. Simon, please.
Yes, I'm online. Thank you, Eric. So yeah, it's very difficult and interesting questions, but I try to give my few considerations on this. I think with regards to what can we do to foster that relationship and that collaboration, one of the key areas that we're looking into when setting up Insight is trying to be transparent and try to share information among all the stakeholders, of course, with different levels of access to information, but overall. Transparency is one of the key elements, and I think with that and with sessions like today, we're sharing information, we're sharing data. We will be sharing in the future how we assess these technologies and how we inject them into the BREF process. Also, working with organizations across the world, that's one of our priorities as well. And I talked through my presentation of engaging. I think we all need to engage, and not only, I mean, industry is the key element here, and without them, this doesn't move anywhere. So that's our key priority: engage with industry, but also engage across organizations and across different sectors. That's a key element. And then the need of expertise, and I think here we deal with novel techniques, we deal with new science, with new developments, and we're probably going to face a lot of or quite often situations where we don't have the ability to understand, to assess, and to support the uptake of these techniques. And in that sense, the collaboration, the identification of experts and centers of excellence in different areas, that's going to be quite key in order to succeed. To the second question, and I'll be brief, how can the OECD, and I think today is a good example of how this collaboration can start, and that's by meeting each other, knowing each other, presenting new initiatives or new strategies to deal with similar problems. So I think in that sense, thanks OECD, and we hope we can continue this type of sessions. And then perhaps create the necessary tools for information sharing, and that's probably using already your technologies and your platforms. Perhaps there can be a space to share information. And I would say one of the elements that we are doing is creating a mapping expertise and mapping organizations, and perhaps the OECD could support in that. In creating a bit of a database of experts that we can contact, organizations that we should know of, interested parties in this world of innovation and industrial transition. So a few elements there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon, for your contribution. I would like to pass the floor next to Phil Gu Kang, please.
I think this question is very difficult to answer that. My answer is very similar to Mr. Simon. I think he has good answers and solution as we can do. And also, in my humble opinion, I think through Mr. Simon's presentation, why this webinar's theme is focused on ET. Because it is for your IED revision, right? ETAELs, right? Am I right? And also energy intensive sectors for, yeah. In Korea currently, ET is not important in Korea currently because emerging technique has no power for industrial sector now. So I cannot say the exact answer for that, but in my humble opinion, if I were in this here, I would like to change the concept of ET in this graph. In our graph, ET is defined as the pilot test level techniques, right? But in your revision, ET is like the same with the BAT level, technical level BAT. But ET, normally we understand just pilot test level, but it is very huge differences between. BREF ET and your ID revision ET. And also, my very big question on BAT in Korea is that the assessment methodology of BAT as an aspect of economics, because you have the guidelines of proximity effect, right? Still guideline, no BREF. I mean, it is very difficult to quantitatively assess BAT for economy, right? Environmental issue, that is not a problem, but economy issue. So, but I'd like to add this methodology to our common BREF in Korea, but still the huge question is about economy. And also the question 2, I think OECD, but I think the very good advantage of OECD project is OECD has a variety of projects in very different fields, industry and other sector. And so we are on the PRTR sector, right? This chemical sector now, but that's not a problem. But among OECD project, I think you can find an answer among that, because we don't need to build any new expert group. We have, OECD has also good expert group member, so we can find or pick that is the first step to build this ET. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to give the floor now to Manoranjan Ota, please.
So, simple questions, difficult answers actually. Yeah, we have been talking, I mean, my colleagues from the OECD and South Korea has very elaborately said, we need to a little bit differentiate between at this point of time, but there has to be some beginning somewhere for integrating the emerging technologies. It has to be a humble beginning, because we are now all across the globe, probably we are trying to more sort of a compliance to the energy conservation, carbon footprint, etc., etc. So emerging technologies are required for that. But if we change the BAT right now with this emerging technology, perhaps there will be difficulty. Those are emerged in nations who has already have technologies. We also have to be mindful about the implementation of that, which we decide here, need to be implemented at a different level of economic and technology based. So we little bit have to be maybe a graded response, we have to go for that. And having said that, for graded response, perhaps now time has come that all our bets, which we have discussed, probably have to intend towards the circularity, the wealth from waste, because there are a lot of waste which are being generated all across from these industrial practices. We develop technology, set up a standard, but whether it's load-based or concentration-based, finally it ends up somewhere. So probably now time has come, we need to see, even if there is technology, even if we ask for compliances, but what we need to see that it should not go out, should be somewhere circulate from waste to wealth, like kind of. I think that's probably need to be done. And now, in order to do that, when we talk of the second question about the cooperation, perhaps we have to a little bit emphasize to start with the people who are implementing those, kind of a capacity building or skill development. Perhaps some thought we may have to give that we around this table we decide a standard. The standard is being implemented by the industry, but the industry is run by the men. Perhaps we need to see to address the circularity and technology integration into the entire process of industrial operations.
Thank you. Do you see also maybe what would be the role of the OECD maybe to help a bit?
I mean, there are always scope for, for collaborations that we can always explore that for all these areas where, as we discussed, the emerging, how can we merge the emerging technology into the entire process for not only the compliance, but also for the, the entire circularity. I think that we should now put our more, human resources and time perhaps towards that. That's all my personal view.
Okay, thanks a lot. I would like to give the floor now to Kairat, please. Kairat Massenov.
Emerging techniques for prevention and control of industrial pollution. Can you show my presentation?
Yes, please. Go ahead with the presentation.
But as Phil go tell, as I understand you, the ET, it's not for important section, but I don't see it that way because new innovative methods and new techniques can lead to improve environmental performance and potentially become BAT in future. Just now, I'm going to share with you some emerging techniques from aluminium production in our country. So, the topic of my second report, emerging techniques for prevention and control of industrial pollution. I have two questions. First question, partners and international cooperation, please. Second slide, please. I would like to note that the Organization for Economic Cooperation and the Development project on base available techniques has become a reliable platform for the exchange of information and experience between countries. So our Center and the Base Available Techniques Bureau focuses on international cooperation with key organizations in the field of base available techniques to share experience and knowledge and ensure the participants of independent international consultants in the process of developing BAT reference books. So please pay attention on the slide. Independent advisory support was provided by German Federal Environment Agency, UBA, Center of Expertise on Air Pollution and Climate Change, CITEPA, European Union, Central Asia, Cooperation on Water, Environment and Climate Change, WCOOP. Also, we would like to note the important role of the OECD in providing advisory support for the development of base available technique reference books. So next slide, please. In order to save time, I'll get to the point. Let me share with you some emerging techniques that we have developed in our aluminium production reference books. Aluminium production in the Republic of Kazakhstan occupies a special place in the global hierarchy of aluminum producers. Our plant produces aluminum from low-quality bauxite raw materials using the only technological scheme in the world, sequential parallel variant biosintering. So next slide, the main technological process of for aluminum production you can see on the slide. So first, emerging techniques, please, next slide. Biohydrogen technology of ferruginous bauxite processing. Next slide. In the joint stock company Center of Earth Science, Metallurgy and Enrichment of the Republic of Kazakhstan, developed innovative biohydrogranate technology of ferruginous bauxite processing, excluding sintering and providing high technological and economic performance. The new technology compared to the biosintering methods has the following advantages. Fuel and electricity consumption is reduced by 35%. Alkaline reagent costs are reduced by 60%, and the level of harmful emission into the atmosphere is reduced by 2 and 3 times. The technology makes it possible to process and the type of ferruginous alumina containing raw materials and obtain rare metals such as gallium and vanadium, along with metallurgical alumina, as well as environmentally friendly hydrogranate sludge. Next slide, please. Next, emerging techniques: use of low-grade process fuel in alumina production. Energy consumption is constantly increasing worldwide for several reasons: population growth, industrialization, and rapid economic growth in developing countries. Installations operating on gas fuel have a higher efficiency compared to installations using other types of fuel. They are simpler and cheaper to operate, relatively easy to automate, which increases safety and improves the technological process, and do not require complex fuel supply and ash removal devices. The gas is burned with minimal harmful emissions, which improves sanitary conditions and the environment. Next slide, please. Next, emerging techniques about inert anodes. This is a revolutionary technology where inert anodes replace conventional carbon anodes using inert, non-consumable materials such as ceramic or alloys, ultimately significantly reducing greenhouse gas emissions during the melting process. The carbon footprint of alumina produced using inert anodes is lower than the industry average emissions by more than 85%. Another advantage of this technology is the release of oxygen during the aluminum production process. One inert anode can produce the same amount of oxygen as 70 hectares of forest. The main advantages of this technology in terms of environmental protection, such as complete elimination of greenhouse gas and polyaromatic hydrocarbon emission during aluminum production, reduction of production costs by more than 10% due to anode and electricity savings, reduction of capital costs during the construction of new plants by more than 30%. In addition, the use of inert anodes will eliminate emissions for sulfur dioxide and tarry substances, significantly reduce dust fluoride emissions due to high sealing of electrolyzers. Next slide, please. Emerging techniques about electrolyzers, 400 and 500 kiloamperes current capacity. So, aluminum production technologies are being improved every day to provide consumers with the highest quality products at the lowest possible cost and to make the production process as environmentally friendly as possible. They are modern electrolyzers with 400 and 500 kiloamperes capacity, but past generation of plants are also being modernized. The production technology is continuously provided towards increasing the unity capacity of electrolyzers. The world's leading aluminum companies are seeking to operate high amperage electrolyzers, as the use of high amperage electrolyzers can improve the economy efficiency of new smelters by reducing specific capital and operating costs. Next slide, please.
I think we may need to, sorry, because time is a bit short. And
okay,
we may need to, if that's okay, or we can maybe
Okay. And to summarize, today's webinar is very important for identifying and evaluating emerging production techniques that could potentially be used as BAT in the future. The contribution and the role of Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in organizing the webinar to share information and the experience among countries is very significant. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude once again to the organizers webinar. We believe that webinars of this scale should be held regularly and as often as possible. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much to all the speakers. Maybe if I have 1 minute, I try to make a little summary of the session. And what was said, I took a key, some elements here. First, from my colleague Simon in the assessment of emerging techniques, engaging with industry and understanding exactly what is going to be developed is key. We may need new expertise to assess those techniques, and I think that there is great potential maybe to collaborate within the OECD group, maybe to pool expertise from various parts of the world and try to understand the technological pathway which will be implemented. We saw that there are maybe different approaches in various countries. For example, in Korea, the focus seems to be more on best available techniques rather than emerging techniques. But we have seen that, for example, in India, emerging techniques, in particular for circular economy, this is getting traction, and so therefore there may be a need to work on that. Looking at the interesting slides presented by our last presenter, we saw that there is a number of emerging techniques which are coming up in Kazakhstan in various sectors, and therefore the information is available. And it would make sense maybe that this information could be pulled out together, and maybe that could be discussed maybe during the meeting coming up, but the role of the OECD maybe could be important in trying to get, in fact, information flowing from various parts of the world to tackle common issues that we have in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aris, for summarizing the discussion in session 3. Now I'd like to move to the question and answer session. But due to time constraint, we would like to introduce our email address for further question. And for this webinar, we received one technical question regarding the textile sector, which seems to be out of the scope of the webinar today, unfortunately. So could you please forward the question to the email address if it is appropriate. Yes. So since we have on-site participants, if you have any comments or questions, I can take one, maybe comments. Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for offering the question time. Well, basically, it's first of all, we very much appreciate this kind of conferences, and I think as a question would also be maybe for insight, and because we have different interpretation of what is innovative and what is emerging. I think the starting question, and we have heard that from other speakers, is for what purpose, for what outcome, right? And I mean, the intentions, the objectives, or what we want to do in this information exchange are completely shared. I mean, from the civil society organizations, we really believe that we have to embark the circular economy, the decarbonization objective. Water supply is a big topic. Scarcity is an issue that will be competing issues. So I was thinking, I mean, from looking at the whole EU BREF context and maybe other BAT practices I have came across, will we also move beyond the installation level approach to say what is the impact of a sector or an activity within the planetary boundaries we are operating in? So to share also maybe with the industry, I mean, these are big corporations, steel plants, for example, to say, okay, does it make sense to produce steel in this way in that country? I know it's a very delicate question, but that we have to move to this direction to say, where does it make sense in a full cross-media approach, also for the resource cycling aspects and the end users, for the location of certain activities, for example, or where we can, distribute the efforts on where certain products should be produced. And this goes also to the other question, which is about, should we also go to the direction of questioning certain types of activities as well? So there's this essential use concept. We have this, for example, chemistry, safe and sustainable by design initiatives. So the starting point is, are there other options to deliver? So to move away from the installation level to more the activity level, that's one. And for that, it would be great if the OECD can help to assess the indicators. How do we rate best from the average? And it's a very delicate one. And the economic balance is very important as well. And to also share the methods maybe on how you assess availability. What are the cost-benefit methods you use? So this would be also an area where we would support or welcome more clarification on how do you value externalities, for example, workers' protection, cost of air pollution, cost of water or resource consumption, etc. Because this trade-off discussion will always come with industry, which of course look at operating costs and other factors. Well, and I hope we will develop more tomorrow. And looking forward for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment, Christian. Okay, now we are going to close the webinar with showing our email address for further question. Thank you very much to all the guest speakers, moderator, and Barak for being actively involved in discussions. I thank the participants for joining our webinar with great interest. Finally, thanks to my OECD colleagues who worked very hard to make this webinar a success. Thank you very much and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.